Hi all, so in this video let's see about the texture of the soil and the classes of textures. So soil texture. So as the heading or the topic signifies, the texture is nothing but like how much relative percentage of the sand, slit or the clay is present in a particular soil. So the proportion of the each size in a given soil cannot be easily altered, and it is considered as one of the basic property of any type of soil. And the soil will separate are defined in terms of both diameter in of the particles. And the soil particles less than 2 is called fine earth and are excluded from the soil textural determinations. And soil textural classes are nothing but the sand, slit and the clay. So like how we split the different types of textures, that is in a soil itself we split sand, slit and clay separately, where the size or the diameter of the sand will be 2 to 0.05 clay will be like more than less than 0.002 slit 0.05 to 0.002 that we call it as a slit. So these are the three different types of textures of soil. So coming to the clay, so clay, it includes like all soils in which the sand separates make up at least 70% of the material by weight, that we call it as the sand. Slit is nothing but it includes the soil which at least 80% slit and 12% or less clay, particle size intermediate between the sand and the clay, we call it as the slit. And the clay will include the soils with at least 35 to 40% clay, 30% to 40% clay separate, that we call it as the clay. And according to the USDA, that is United States Department of Agriculture, they have given like a triangle representing the percentage of the slit, clay and the sand, like how much it will be like present in the soil texture. So there are few methods of determination of the texture of that soil, that is like based on the how much what type of loam is present, or the clay loam or slit loam, based on that we can determine the texture of the soil. So first method to determine the soil texture is the feel method. So texture is commonly determined by the sense of feel. So by like touching in the hand we can feel the sense of the soil. So the sand feels gritty and its particles can be easily seen. So slit, when it is dry, feels like flour or talcum powder, and it is slightly plastic when it is wet. So if few slits are present in that type of soil, what happens is when it is a dry sand, it will feel like a powder or the flour, but when it is wet in nature it will be like slightly plastic, that is we could feel the sense of touch in our hands. And the clay feels very plastic and it is very sticky when wet and hard when dry conditions. So this is how the textures can be determined. And laboratory method also is being adopted to find out the texture. So first one is the elutrition method by using the water in the air, pipette method, decantation or the beaker method, and the test tube shaking method. So these are the four types of laboratory method that are used to determine the texture of soil. Next, the particle size classification. How do we classify the particle size? So there are many standards recognized the the preset conditions where they give and for the classification of the particle size. According to the American Standard, United States Department of Agriculture, English British Standard Institute, and International Society of Soil Science, and the European system, they all contribute for the classification of the particle size. So based on all this, how they classify the particle size is nothing but, for according to the USDA standards, the clay will be weighing less than 0.22 mm, slit 0.002 to 0.05. Likewise, they have given for very fine sand, medium sand, coarse, and the very coarse sand. According to the IEEE standards, the clay, slit, fine sand, and the coarse sand values are given. So this is the texture triangle where 12 basic texture classes have been given. That is the they split the clay, loam, sand, and the slit. Slit loam, slitty clay loam, loam, sandy clay loam, loamy sandy loam, sandy clay, clay loam, slitty clay, and the clay. So these are the 12 basic textural classes that are derived. Thank you.